5 signs an elderly person is nearing the end. How to prepare mentally and provide the best care. I still remember the day my mother left this world. That morning, the air was chilly. I walked into her room like I did every day. But today, she didn't wake up to greet me as usual. She lay still, her eyes gently closed, her breathing so faint that I could barely hear it. I sat beside her, holding her hand. It was colder than before, yet still carried a lingering warmth of life. I knew this day would come. The doctor had told me that my mother had only a few days left. But no matter how much I tried to prepare myself, when the moment finally arrived, my heart still clenched with sorrow. For the past week, I had noticed clear changes in her. She slept more, ate less, and her voice grew weaker. Sometimes she would wake up, look at me for a long time, and softly say, "My dear, I will see your father soon." I didn't know how to respond, except to hold her hand tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would drift away forever. Death is something we all must face, sooner or later. But what I have come to realize is that the real question isn't how to avoid death, but rather how to accept it peacefully, for both ourselves and our loved ones. Many of us see death as a loss, something to fear. But what if we looked at it differently? Perhaps it is not an ending, but a transition from this world to a place of greater peace. And if we recognize the signs early, we can help our loved ones pass with peace, comfort, and dignity. Today, I want to share with you the signs that indicate when an elderly person is nearing the end, not to frighten you, but to help you prepare. I will tell you about my own experiences, the moments I witnessed as my parents and grandparents took their final breaths. And more importantly, I want to help you understand that death itself is not the most painful thing. The real pain is not having the chance to express our love in time. A peaceful passing is the last gift we can give to those we love. If you have an elderly loved one, you might be wondering, how do I know when their time is near? Don't worry. Let's go through the signs together. This is not just about loss. It's about love, preparation, and making those final moments truly meaningful. Signs that an elderly person is nearing the end. 1. Sleeping more and withdrawing from the outside world. I remember when my mother started sleeping more than usual. She used to wake up in the morning, drink tea, and sit by the window watching the garden. But gradually, she'd just lay in bed, her eyes closed for most of the day. I would call her name, and though she heard me, her response was slow and faint. At first, I thought she was just feeling tired. But then, I noticed she was no longer interested in anything around her. She stopped watching her favorite TV shows. She no longer asked about her grandchildren. Even when I told her happy stories, she simply smiled slightly and closed her eyes again. One day, I held her hand and whispered, "Mom, would you like some tea?" She gently shook her head without opening her eyes or saying a word. That's when I realized her body was slowly retreating from this world. Why does this happen? As the body prepares for the final stage, the heart slows down and the brain receives less oxygen, leading to extreme fatigue and increased sleepiness. What can you do? Do not try to wake them up too often. Let them rest naturally. Stay close to them, hold their hand, and let them feel your presence. 2. Loss of appetite and refusal to eat or drink. I still remember the day my grandfather stopped eating. He used to love fish porridge, especially the kind my grandmother used to make. Even when he was weak, he would always try to eat a little. But one day, he only touched his food, took a small sip, and then shook his head. At first he ate much less than usual. Then he only drank water and had no appetite. A few days later, even drinking became difficult for him. I was worried and tried to encourage him to eat, but he only whispered, "I'm not hungry anymore. My child." Why does this happen? As the body weakens, the digestive system slows down, and the need for food decreases. Eating and drinking are no longer essential because the body is naturally preparing for the transition. What can you do? Do not force them to eat or drink. Instead, offer them small sips of water or gently moisten their lips to keep them comfortable. If they do want to eat, offer soft foods like soups or fruit juices. 3. Cold limbs, pale skin, and purple spots. A week before my mother passed, I noticed her hands and feet becoming colder than usual. At first, I thought it was because of the weather, but even with a thick blanket, she still felt cold. Her skin turned pale, and I saw faint purple marks on her hands and arms. I rubbed her hands gently, but they remained cold. Why does this happen? As the heart weakens, blood flow slows down and prioritizes vital organs, causing the hands and feet to lose warmth. The weakened blood vessels create purple or blotchy patches on the skin. What can you do? Cover them with a light blanket to keep them warm, but avoid overheating. Gently massage their hands and feet to improve circulation. 4. Changes in breathing patterns. I vividly remember the final moments of my father. He had been breathing normally, but on his last day, his breathing became irregular. At first, I heard a soft wheezing sound, as if something was caught in his throat. Then he would pause for several seconds before exhaling again. I was terrified. I held his hand and called his name, but he simply kept breathing slowly, until eventually he didn't. Why does this happen? This is called Cheney-Stokes breathing, a common pattern before death where the brain loses control over normal breathing rhythms. What can you do? Don't panic. This is a natural part of the process. Help them lie in a comfortable position, slightly turned to one side to make breathing easier. 5. Seeing deceased loved ones or sudden moments of clarity. The night before my grandmother passed, she suddenly woke up after sleeping for nearly a whole day. She looked at me, held my hand tightly, and said, "Your grandfather is here to take me." She called out his name, even though he had passed away years ago. Her voice was calm, as if she was no longer afraid. Why does this happen? Some people experience a final moment of clarity before passing, possibly due to heightened brain activity or spiritual experiences. What can you do? Speak gently with them and acknowledge their words with love. Do not dismiss what they see. It brings them comfort. How to help a loved one pass peacefully. I still remember my mother's final days. I did everything I could to make sure she was comfortable. I used to fear that moment, the moment when she would no longer be here. But then I realized something important. It is not about prolonging life at all costs, but about ensuring that she could pass peacefully, without pain, without fear. So how can we help a loved one transition in the most peaceful way possible? 1. Be present, even in silence. I used to think I had to say a lot, to do something to make my mother feel better. But I was wrong. Sometimes your presence means more than words. I sat beside my mother, holding her hand for hours. I didn't need to say much, she just needed to know I was there. There were moments when she would open her eyes, look at me, smile gently, and then close her eyes again. I knew she felt at peace. Don't worry if your loved one doesn't speak much. Simply being there, holding their hand, and letting them feel your presence is enough. 2. Maintain a calm and warm environment. During my mother's last days, I didn't turn on the TV too loud. I didn't let the house be filled with noise and chatter. Instead, I played soft music that she loved and opened the curtains to let natural light into the room. A quiet and peaceful atmosphere helps a person feel more at ease. A room that is too dark or too cold might make them feel isolated. Create a warm and comforting space. Sometimes, just a soft melody can bring them peace. 3. Don't force them to eat. Let them go naturally. When my mother stopped eating, I panicked. I was afraid that she would become weaker, that she would leave us faster. I tried to convince her to eat, but she just shook her head lightly. Later, the doctor told me, her body is preparing for the transition. She no longer feels hunger or thirst like before. Don't force her. If your loved one no longer wants to eat or drink, respect their body's process. Instead of forcing them to eat, keep their lips moist, offer them small sips of water to keep them comfortable. 4. Say, I love you, before it's too late. On my mother's final day, I held her hand and told her, Mom, I love you. She didn't respond, but her fingers gently squeezed mine. I knew she heard me, and that moment is something I will never forget. Don't wait until it's too late to express your love. If you have something to say to your loved one, say it now. Even if they don't respond, they will hear and feel your love. Final message. Preparing our hearts to let go. I once thought that I wouldn't be able to go on after my mother passed away. On the day she left, I sat beside her for a long time. Looking at her peaceful face, I knew she was no longer in pain, but I still felt empty, lost, as if a part of me had gone with her. Losing a loved one is something none of us want to face, but it is something we cannot avoid. So how do we, the ones left behind, continue living without overwhelming grief? 1. Allow yourself to grieve. It's okay to cry. On the day my mother passed, I tried to hold back my tears. I thought I had to be strong for everyone else. But then I realized crying does not mean weakness. Tears helped me release my sorrow. Grieving is a natural part of healing. If you feel sad, cry. Let yourself feel. It is part of the healing process. 2. Don't try to forget. Cherish the beautiful memories. After my mother passed, I was afraid to look at her photos. I didn't want to relive the pain. But over time, I realized that memories are not meant to bring sadness. They are a gift. I started telling stories about her, sharing the moments we had. I cooked her favorite meals, just to feel her presence. Don't try to forget. Instead, hold on to the good memories. Remember your loved one with gratitude and love. 3. They are still with us, just in a different way. There is a saying that I truly believe in. They are not truly gone. They are simply in a place we cannot yet see. I believe that our loved ones never really leave us. They remain in our hearts, in our stories, in the love they left behind. Your loved one may no longer be physically here, but their love will always be a part of you. Closing thoughts. Make their final moments full of love. If you have an elderly loved one with you now, cherish every moment. Be with them. Hold their hand. Tell them you love them. Let them pass peacefully, without pain, without fear. And when they are gone, continue living in a way that would make them proud. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. May we all learn to love and accept life and death with an open heart.